this for a little over 2 years now, and this meaning I have derived 100% of my income and my livelihood from AI and my AI business and AI related services. And during that time, I have clawed my way to the forefront of innovation and made a lot of significant scientific breakthroughs that I'm very proud of with regards towards AI overall. And while I'm very proud of these accomplishments, and I will continue absolutely with my research and doing everything along those lines, it doesn't pay anything with regards towards products. It doesn't. It excites people absolutely, but there's nothing tangible behind it. And as I evaluate these things, and as I think of them, and as I go through this, I realize there's just flat out a differentiation between Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. I personally aspire to be Steve Wozniak. I would personally rather be Steve Wozniak, and that's the role I would rather be in. But the world needs Steve Jobs in this instance over Steve Wozniak. And to me, what Steve Jobs did and what his great breakthrough was is he didn't invent the personal computer. He had nothing to do with it, the invention or the technical aspects of the personal computer and all of that. But what he did was make you understand exactly why you need a personal computer and why you should have a personal computer. And that's a significant breakthrough in and of itself. And so when it comes to AI, there's a lot of recent breakthroughs that have come out, and there's a lot of AI advancement that has come out. And it's a lot appeals to the Steve Wozniak in me. But as I pitch these things to people, I understand that it goes over basically everyone's head. You don't understand why you need these things, and then the bottom line is that you don't understand why you need mathematics within your organization. And that's kind of what I've boiled this down to, right? So the PC revolution was kicked off because Steve Jobs made you understand exactly why you need a PC and why having a PC and a PC focused organization would be good for your business. I'm here to tell you why a mathematical focus would be magical for your business. Why you need to shift from IT to math. And that's the IT 2.0 is mathematics. And I'm here to explain that to you in the Steve Jobs manner. And so diving into that, I have a presentation for you today, which is on Euclidean versus hyperbolic spaces for businesses. And I'm going to present to you exactly why you want to deal with this concept of hyperbolic spaces for businesses. And this is very high level theoretical math, right? This is getting into trigonometry and advanced calculus, differential calculus and lambda calculus. And I'm trying to, I'll break this down to you for a CEO level. That's my goal. So here we go. So in the beginning, there was only Euclideville, and Euclideville was made out of shapes. That's its whole entire essence, right? Triangles. And it was good. And essentially you could measure the shape of a triangle and you could learn lots of different things from this. And so villages popped up out of this, and whole societies started popping up, and Euclideville was created. But as this city grew, there needed to be order within the city. What exactly is a triangle? What's a square? What's the difference between a triangle and a square? And a circle, and then so shapes were defined, and essentially these norms were established around what it meant to be a shape and what it meant to operate within Euclideville. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Here's the norms that we're going to write into law for Euclideville. And this is what happened within the society, and it was good. And so everything is good and peaceful in Euclideville for a couple thousand years with this. It's a good system. Like it survives longer than the Roman Empire. But then one day, everything's peaceful, but then an apple falls on a man's head. That's it. That's the catalyst, right? This apple falling on a man's head sparks a revolution. And this is a revolution like none that the world had ever seen before. This dude is mad. This apple fell on his head, and he's going to take vengeance on this apple. And that's exactly what he did. He goes to town so bad on this apple that he essentially makes the apple doubt its own existence and its own purpose. And essentially creates a literal fracture within Euclideville as a result of this debate, right? He goes so hard on this apple that the residents of Euclideville, as they're watching this, they start doubting themselves, and they realize that there's essentially a possibility of a world out there, of an existence out there that they didn't know about before this man started arguing with this apple. And then so this creates a divide among the inhabitants of Euclideville. Some of them just they flat out leave, right? They say this isn't like this what we're dealing here within Euclideville. This isn't real. Like this, the man arguing with the apple and what he's talking about, kind of that whole philosophy of what he's going on, and he's saying that there's more than like that. There's actual more than just the flatness of Euclideville. He's saying that there's things like curves that exist, and that these curves are influenced by something called gravity, and that there's like physics, that like this concept of physics and hot and cold. These things that don't exist in the land of shapes. And then like so some of the shapes they leave. They're like, I want to experience more than this. I think that there's a world outside of just being a shape. And then so some of the people from Euclideville, they leave. And then they form a town called Hyperbolic Town. And then Hyperbolic Town and Euclideville exist as two separate worlds, as two separate lands, right? And then one day, one of the residents of Hyperbolic Town is going about his residence, and they're building out the town and exploring. And then he's building, and he strikes his axe, and then all of a sudden, oil just starts popping up out of the ground. And he's like, man, this is crazy. Like, what's going on here? And then so what the people start realizing as they start building out this town of Hyperbolic Town is that the actual structure of Hyperbolic Town is different than Euclideville. Like, Hyperbolic Town is made out of different elements than Euclideville. There was no oil in Euclideville. All of it, like, there's oil everywhere in Hyperbolic Town, right? And then so it's like they start uncovering these crazy differences. And then so scientists get together, and then they start figuring out that there's like actually literally different physics that exist within Hyperbolic Town than Euclideville. And the rules of physics don't exist in Euclideville. And so these shapes were existing in a world in Euclideville where they didn't even know that this concept existed. And then the scientists, when they're going through this, they make a very important discovery. And they find out that Hyperbolic Town is curved. That's the difference between Hyperbolic Town and Euclideville. That Euclideville is like a triangle, and it's built like a triangle. And then when they step out and they examine the geography of Hyperbolic Town, it's like a triangle too, but it's like a bent triangle. And that bend creates a curve that doesn't exist anywhere within Euclideville. And they find out and they narrow it down that this curve that exists within Hyperbolic Town is responsible for all of the physics that exists within Hyperbolic Town that don't exist within Entropyville or Euclideville. So the people of Euclideville, they never noticed any of this before because it had always been their home. But Euclideville was always flat, and everything within it was always flat. It had no curves and no dimensions. this was the existence of Euclideville, and everyone just went about their lives, and this wasn't an issue. Whereas Hyperbolic Town had curves and it had dimensionality, and this became a new form of existence for the residents of Hyperbolic Town, something that they had never experienced before. And they had no way to relate these two concepts, right? And they would, a few of them, they would even go back and try to tell the people of Euclideville that this town of Hyperbolic Town exists. But when you live in the world of flat, and you're saying that there's this world of curves and dimensionality, first of all, like, how do you even describe it to these people, these residents of this flat world? and how do they believe you, etc.? Like, it goes, this essentially starts off the like Plato's allegory of the cave right here, right? It's it's the essence of it. These residents of Euclideville wouldn't even believe you that Hyperbolic Town exists. And that's exactly what happens, right? So Hyperbolic Town becomes kind of like this hidden oasis. You couldn't discover it by talking to anyone in Euclideville because they didn't know it would exist. And then even if someone told them that it existed, no one would believe them. So its location remained largely a secret. It was very hard to get to Hyperbolic Town. And then so anyone that would stumble upon it was welcomed among the townspeople. And it was a very rare event when someone would stumble into Hyperbolic Town and discover its existence. But then one day, one of the townsfolk of Euclideville, they asked a profound question. And that in and of itself ended up shaking the whole of the society of geometry verse to its core. And they demanded, they went out and they said, how do we know that Hyperbolic Town is actually a real place? I've never seen it. You keep talking. There's people that keep talking, and there's whispers of this Hyperbolic Town. I want to set this to rest once and for all. Does this place exist, or does it not exist? And this philosophical debate starts off very small, and then it grows from there. More people start having these questions, and they start questioning it, and more mathematicians, particularly, start questioning this concept. Like, is the concept and everything that is related to Hyperbolic Town, like these concepts that derive from it, like calculus and trigonometry, and are these concepts real? Like, we're in the land of geometry, which has existed for thousands of years, but these new like trigonometry, calculus, these are new, and they utilize, even if I were to accept that they're real, they're utilizing imaginary things. So how could they actually be real? And these questions spark huge discussions among the townspeople and the mathematicians. And then this dispute ends up becoming big, right? And then so it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court of Mathology. And the Supreme Court hears both sides of the argument, and then they make a very shocking ruling. So in 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court ruled that geometry as a whole was banished to the realm of fictional math. And then so not just calculus, not just trigonometry, but geometry as well. And then so they essentially, during these court proceedings, they asked the triangles, like, can you prove your own existence? Can you prove that you can only use triangles to solve mathematical equations? And the triangles couldn't do it. And then so the triangles couldn't prove their own existence. And then so essentially the Supreme Court had no other options at that point, and then so they said, you're all gone. Right? Like this whole concept of geometry, it's all fake. You can't even prove the existence of a triangle. And so if you can't even prove the existence of a triangle, and you can't prove that a triangle is real, then what does it matter, right? And we can prove that we can do math on a triangle that equals 180 degrees, but then we can also do math and if we go to Hyperbolic Town, we can do math on triangles that equal less than 180 degrees and triangles that are more than 180 degrees. And you people in Geometry Town, you say that those triangles are fake, but we can do math on it. So if those triangles are fake, then you're fake too. And then that's kind of what ends up happening. And then this ends up being a huge thing. And so Geometry Town is just banished, right? Like all of geometry is gone. And then this banishment is deemed permanent. The Supreme Court, they rule, and that's it. But then one day, they built a bridge, and they built the first bridge. People, like, they don't like this banishment, right? And so they start trying to build bridges, but it's hard, like they're failing. But one day someone actually does it, and they build a bridge between the land of equations and the land of shapes. This happens a few different times and in a few different ways, right? It's in the 20th and the 21st century, it is when this happens, and it happens some of it very recently, but utilizing Pythagorean theorem and proving that Pythagorean theorem can actually be utilized outside of geometry, which has been considered unsolvable for about 2,000 years, was just solved by two high schoolers, 2 years, either a year ago or 2 years ago. And then so a lot of this, this bridge is as recent as it gets, right? And then the other part of this bridge is part of physics that has not been accepted fully yet, which is the Langland's geometrics program, which is essentially the fusion of algebra and geometry. That fusion has been it has been proven within mathematics, right? And so people accept that the bridge exists and that the bridge is real, but the overall concept is still being debated. And then so it's kind of at the point now where geometry has been they have been accepted to the council, but they haven't been given the title of master, and that's where geometry sits. And so there's a funny thing that happens though, right? So all of this is occurring, right? This banishment, the bridges start being discovered, and then concurrently, just as a side event, Moore's law starts dying, out of nowhere, right? Just Moore's law all of a sudden on life support, and no one knows what to do, right? What do we do in this event? And then so Moore's law, it's sitting there, I don't know, just gasping for breath, right? Heart attack out of nowhere. And then so essentially scientists, they all get together, and then they say, we need to save Moore's law's life. And then so essentially they look at every single concept and they say the only thing that could possibly save Moore's law's life is this bridge between the geometry realm and the equation realm. We don't even know if the bridge is real, right? So we're going to assume that the bridge is real. Okay, you're now on the council, right? And then to appease everyone, you don't have the role of master, but so we're going to put you on the council. We're going to assume that you're true, and we're going to throw you into computers. So we're just going to throw this bridge into computers and then see what happens, because Moore's law is going to die if we don't do it. And then so that's what happens. And then this fusion land essentially gets created. And then this fusion land is unlike anything that anyone had ever seen before. There's a lot of unknown ramifications that come out of this, right? The bottom line that I can put this is so I'm an engineer and I have an engineer's brain. And then so one of the kind of equations within this is that we reach what's a kind of a popular discussion right now of scaling laws and scaling limits, right? And then we've hit that before. So it's nothing new if you hit scaling limits, right? And then so that's what I'm talking about within this is the very first time that we hit scaling limits. And then so what do you do when you can't scale up? You just start scaling sideways. And then the first time that you ask someone like me, an engineer, so what's the difference between scaling up and scaling sideways? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. It seems the same to me. Scale up, scale sideways should be the same, I guess. But there's differences, and there's subtle differences, and there's huge differences between scaling up and scaling sideways. Scaling sideways allows you to do things that you can't do just just via scaling up. And then it also gives you an extra lever, and then you can also combine the levers together, right? So there's this whole space that opens up that someone like me, just pure engineer, doesn't think about until it actually happens, right? And then so the kind of one of the major side effects, the first side effect that's discovered within this, is that entire environments can be created and agents can be trained within these environments as if it were the real world. And so I always equate this to the whole concept of Neo within the Matrix, and they just download Kung Fu, and it's I know Kung Fu, and that's exactly how it works, right? You can do that, but you have to train the model, so you have to simulate it, right? It's not gonna know Kung Fu instantaneously. It's gonna know Kung Fu after 30 hours, but 30 hours of playing the video game Kung Fu, and then it's gonna come out and it'll be good, or maybe 5 hours, right? You can get it down. There's things that you can do to get that equation down and get that training time down. But the big concept and the big kind of breakthrough is that you can do this within simulated environments and simulated worlds. But here's the kicker, right? These simulated environments and these simulated worlds, they have to be in Hyperbolic Town and not Euclideville. And that's the whole point of this, right? And going to this is that so as we dive deeper into this, there's kind of breakthroughs that we make within this, right? We make a breakthrough, and a big breakthrough, that you can utilize this for things like corporate use and corporate entities. You can simulate corporate functions. You can simulate the whole corporate entity itself, and you can get massive gains and massive breakthroughs from this. And then the only key, the only secret, is understanding at a core fundamental level this difference between hyperbolic spaces and Euclidean spaces, which is for some reason a very hard concept even for masters and PhD students to understand. And so if you've gone through this video to this point and you've picked up on anything that I've put down with regards towards the difference between Euclidean and hyperbolic spaces at this point, then congratulations, you've taken a concept that masters and PhD students struggle with. I don't think that it's that hard of a concept, so hopefully I've explained it to you on some level on that regard. And then so within this, let me give you kind of if this is percolating things in your mind, man, what this guy is talking about is cool. What would it actually look like as far as real world experiments, right? Actually putting it together. Here you go. This is to me, the holy grail, right? If anyone is into knowledge graphs and GNNs and graph neural networks and everything like that, here you go. This is what you want. This is exactly what you've been looking for, right? And then flat out, this is differential calculus, lambda calculus, and trigonometry. And you need to know all three of those in order to do this. But then if you know all three of those and you can escape the kind of barrier of Euclidean geometry and go to that next level, then this opens up to you, and this opens up a whole new world, right? Do you want to be able to graph neural network your business and all of the concepts? I can do this, and I can get this data out of an LLM model without using your data, flat out, right? I just need to know the math to do it. And so if I can understand trigonometry, lambda calculus, and a derivative calculus, then I can get this and I can do whatever I want from this. Right? And that's literally all I need to be able to do in order to extract this data. I don't need your data, I need the math. And then so here's other examples, right? And then so this is one of my favorite examples here. And then so if you go about this, right, if you try to recreate exactly what I'm doing and how exactly these concepts that I'm talking about work, they're going to fail for you if you don't understand the mathematics of it. And very simply, the graph on the left is accurate, the graph on the right is inaccurate. The graph on the right happens with someone that has up to let's call it a bachelor's level understanding of geometry, and they will produce the graph on the right. they won't even know that the concepts to produce the graph on the left exist. And so that's the knowledge gap that needs to be closed here, right? And then just pointing these concepts out and once you close this knowledge gap, it's like riding a bike. It's transferable, right? And then but it's learning and understanding that these concepts and understanding these concepts within your organization are just as important as understanding IT was during the era of Steve Jobs. And then so it gets you to this as the final result, right? This is utilizing sentences as opposed to words. And then again, you can see that there's different ways to lay this out. Like I look at it, it's the ultimate goal. Once you get mastery of this, is you're unfolding the shape. Right, here's the shape. Here's complete mastery. And then this is utilizing like every sort of calculus and trigonometry that I could possibly throw at it to get this. And then if you know anything, like this is very hard to reproduce. So like good luck trying to reproduce this. And I would love to teach you how to reproduce this overall, right? But so like, going back to Steve Jobs versus Steve Wozniak, to me, this is cool. What I just went through with the graph, like that's where I would end this, right? Because I mean, that blows my mind. But what does this mean for you as the business? And then so to me, what this means is that literally what I can do is any corporate entity, I can turn your business into a video game and solve the problems of your business via these methods, right? I can put it into this box, consider what we're looking at here like a magic box, and then rather than putting a sentence into this magic box, I put your optimization problem into this magic box. And your optimization problem being, we have 2,000 different SKUs and we have 100,000 orders per week. Like how exactly what's our optimal way to maximize our inventory count? I can put that into this magic box. What's our optimal customer service count to keep our hold time thresholds under 15 seconds at all times of the day, 24/7. I can put that into the magic box. Like any sort of like optimization, logic problem, etc., can go into this magic box. Your business can go into this magic box, right? And then I can create and reassemble your business out of this magic box. And then kind of the first assumption that people think of when I bring up this concept is like, okay, so then you need to know every single variable within my business to do this. No. And then going back up to all of this, right? And then to these imaginary spaces, and being able to do this. And so if I know how to do this, I don't need to know every single triangle within this. If you give me 3 of the variables within this triangle on the left, I can get you all of it. Right? And then that's all I need, right? I need 3 of the variables. Give me enough of the data to be able to put the whole picture together. And I don't need all of the data. And that's like, you can do magic within this box. And then, but the magic starts with understanding exactly why you need this box as a business and how this box is crucial for you. Right now, we operate in a world where this box exists and no one even knows that it exists, right? We operate in a world where the personal computer has been invented, but Steve Jobs hasn't told you yet why you need the PC. And that's where we are. So I'm Steve Jobs telling you exactly why you need this. If this resonates with you, please like and subscribe, and then please absolutely reach out. Thank you very much.